There we go.
Great.
Evening. How's it going?
Can't complain. Good evening, sir. Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Sorry that I tried to go live from the business account and for some reason it couldn't. So what I did was I just said just posted a story to say that I'm going live from my
Sure.
personal one.
Cool,
So
cool,
if
cool.
people still want to follow, but I'll also share it
Uh,
if that's okay with you.
100%.
Okay, thank you. Thought I'd just maybe clarify that. So maybe let's jump straight into it. So I obviously know who you are. Firstly, let me say welcome to the Lotus Venture. It is under my personal one this evening, but the Lotus Venture, I'm going to call it a podcast for now. And coming forward with what I consider great bravery, and I really appreciate it.
Sure.
But before I go into that too much. Maybe, a lot of people may not know who you are. I do. And maybe just tell us a little bit about who you are. Just a little intro.
Thank you for having me, Brett. It's a great platform, obviously, to share my story on. Um, but if anything, and for those who may not know me, I am Luqmaan Cupido. I father of five, uh, hobby, sports fanatic. I obviously specialize in the ICT industries of the telephony and telecoms. And in a nutshell, over maybe a year, gone through different phases, grown from strength to strength. And if anything, I'm here to share my story on how I have managed from, let's call it A to Z on the road to recovery.
No, well, I mean, thank you so much for that. I think there's a lot of parts to you, obviously, and I think we'll only get a snippet of who you are this evening. I think the big question that I've had that I thought I'm going to only ask once I start seeing you, and because I genuinely wanted not, or I suppose not to be shocked, I wanted a really authentic experience was to ask what made you decide I'm going to reach out? Because I think the initial part was you messaged me
And
and reached out and said, Brett, I have a story. I want to share it. Now, my question is, what made you decide I would love to share my story?
listen, if I must add, there was, I think, call it one particular person that really put a lot of pressure on me with regards to sharing the story. He thinks it's an amazing story. I just think I'm lucky. Um, but he thinks like it's a wow story and people need to hear, the experiences and the things that I went through in life in order to get here. That particular person is Wesley Morrison. Um, if for those who may or may not know, Wesley and I, we go back like many moons. Our parents were friends, so he's a family friend since birth. Um, my late mom, his beautiful mom, Auntie Rose, his late dad, Uncle George, they were all very, very close knit. And if anything, like Wesley's been like in my life since forever, and he's obviously witnessed, what I've been through, and not only what I've been through, but how I've grown, and also the slumps, the dips that I've taken along the way. He's been there to witness it all. And he pressurized me so much to get this out. So, listen, bro, you better speak to Brett. Reach out to Brett. He's going to give you a platform to share the story. His thing is that there's more to it than me, growing. My story. He's seen me get the benefit thereof, and the growth out of it. But he's more focused on those who are afraid to share their side, or those who are sitting at home now thinking and wondering, listen, what are people going to think about me if I do come out with a story? So more for them. That's I think that's our intention with regards to what we do. We do it with purpose now, and it's always to motivate and inspire. So if anything, Wesley Morrison. So I'm here.
No, so I mean, credit to him for. Maybe let's rephrase it. Not, I mean, I know Wesley, and I understand he's the type that may push a little bit and say, you know what, I think you've got a good story, and I'm sure with him, knowing him your whole life, you probably trusted him when he said, look, man, I think you've got a good story to share. The story is about recovery for those who maybe don't know. Um, I guess maybe tell us a little bit about what the story is. I mean, there's so many questions that I'm sure many of us can ask, but maybe tell us a little bit about what the story looks like.
Okay, well, in a nutshell, it all boils down to substance abuse, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and how I've gone from being like literally on the streets, to being a happily married father now, So essentially, I think it speaks to substance abuse. And yes, I've been call it clean for many a year now, but it's an ongoing process. The recovery never stops. So whether or not you are just refraining and abstaining from substance abuse, there's a lot of other things that happens in the back end, with regards to mental health, spiritual well-being, physical well-being, and that's all part of becoming a better person. So essentially, you recovering, because remember, once you are doing any some sort of substance, and you're partaking in that type of thing, your body goes, and your spirituality goes, your personality goes, your character goes. There's a lot that changes,
Yeah.
so eventually, I might have left the substance abuse, yes, but am I still the same Luqmaan I was before then? So there's still growth, and there's still that I need to that gap I need to close, because I think, if thumbs up a number here, probably about like 10, 11 years that I was busy, and that's from a young tender age of, like, call it 15, 16. you know
Okay.
I was busy doing drugs, and once I obviously managed to gather myself, I realized that it's not only about the stopping of the usage of drugs. It's about having to make sure that mentally, physically, spiritually, and holistically, I'm working towards the Luqmaan I was before.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think one of the things we don't always don't understand is, as you mentioned, recovery is a very active process. So it's
Yeah.
not just about stopping the drugs. It's a hell of a lot of hard work that goes into recovery. And then there's also different stages of recovery. There's a lot of efforts. Maybe, because again, there's so many questions I have. I think one question that I have is, at what point in those 11 years did you think, you know what, I think I need to change something, like something needs to change?
As I don't think it's at what point, per se, Brett. I think it's what made me say at
Okay.
that point, listen, this is enough. So there was a couple of events that took place, um, and you know what, with regards to Wesley again, his family was so close to the situation. When my mom reached out to Auntie Rosie and said, "Listen, I want to enroll Luqmaan into a rehab, but it's in your area. Will it be okay? It's an outpatient thing. Will it be okay if he stays with you guys?" So I spent, like, and this at the latter stages of being through the most of the addiction years. So I'm looking at about, let's call it the ninth, the 10th year of
Yeah.
that period. Um, was when I realized, listen, I went through the most. I've now put my family through the most. You know, um, they're getting the short end of the stick all the time. So
Yeah.
mom and dad sent me off on this rehabilitation program. It was an outpatient program. I spent about, let's call it, 8 months living with Wesley. You know, Rosie, the hospitality was so great. But essentially, at the end of the day, I still went on to continue using. Um, I think a year later, uh, I there was one or two incidents where I realized, like, listen, look, man, this needs to stop, because, like, I was losing my identity, losing my character. Luckily enough, I had jobs. I was always working, but I was in the food and beverage space and hospitality, so which means you always customer facing, and it could show. It shows that that you're on some sort of substance, and
Yeah.
essentially I don't know. I got locked up once, and that was a big eye opener for me. And I could see who's my friends. I could really see, like, I'm alone in this at the end of the day. And then there was one time that I got a, meeting of some sort, and that was also a big eye opener for me to say that, listen, you know what, I need to change my life, because essentially it's a downward spiral,
Yes.
of bad things that's going to continue happening to me if I'm
Yeah.
honest. And yeah, I think it was a couple of things that made me realize that, and not only that, I think it was just the look and the feeling that I got from the rehab as well. It was a very spiritually based rehab. So it's in Mitchell's Plain. They're called Sultan Bao,
Yes.
and they model is based on spirituality. So we put a lot there, you make sure that you making your salahs at on time, and you get, it's outpatient, so you get to leave at 5. But what you do after 5 is then dependent on you, right? So I relapsed a couple of times. It obviously continues or lengthens the program, but
Yeah.
they came a point where I was just, you know not fed up, but I just didn't want to get into those emotional spaces anymore because it was draining, where you find yourself in, like, and you're pulling everybody out of this space. So you're pulling your family out of this space, your friends out of this space, and they're all there to aid you and help you and assist you. But it's all wasted and null and void at the end of the day, because you just leave, or you come out of the cells, or you come out of the beating you just got, and you continue using.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, Luqmaan, the years where we need to, like, pull the plug. You need to make a change.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, like, I think there was a couple of occasions where my friends told me, listen, we appreciate you, we love you, but what you're doing is, because what I used what I used to do is, I would use an alcohol with him, and they they wouldn't mind, but the thing is that I would be under the influence, and they would be like,
Yes.
look, you need to choose a struggle. You can be with us, but you can't be under the influence. And that actually that actually also changed a lot, and made me a bit more resilient to coming into that spaces, because um the company I was then keeping was all sports driven.
Yeah.
Everybody was sportsmen. Everybody was doing something with regards to sports, and that try kind of like got me onto the bandwagon of trying to continue my sporting career. Um, Before the substance abuse, I was playing soccer. Um, and I believe, had I stick with the group that I was in my day, with regards to football, and haven't gone on to the wrong path, probably would have become a better soccer player as well. And after that gap, I thought, oh, you know what, I can get back onto the soccer field, I can do what I need to, but it just couldn't happen that easily, because you've obviously missed out a lot, with regards to development and that type of stuff.
Mhm.
So yes, the friends, a couple of incidents, and obviously, the emotional trauma that goes with it, I think, were the three biggest things that stood out for me with regards to change.
So, I mean, so what I'm hearing, because I mean, I suppose it's different for everybody. People describe it as rock bottom, and they often say rock bottom is different for everybody. Rock bottom can be no money, it can be no friends, it can be
Plus,
being arrested or
those are all contributing factors, yeah. Remember, if you rock bottom, you just massive hiding, or you just end up in yourselves. You don't have money, you don't have anything, you don't have anywhere to go. Your family's kind of said, listen, no, you know what, if you're not budging, we're not budging, so let's keep it like that, and that's kind of rock bottom bit, you know.
yes. So, so I mean, what I hear is rock bottom was a combination of a lot of factors. Uh,
One-
and making you know, because for me, something I'm thinking, like, what was a difficult step, in terms of like the first step to recovery? What would you say was one of the most difficult things?
Listen, obviously going back into that environment, right? Because
Mm.
essentially, we all hung out in the same space. So where we were, they were, sportsmen, they were drug users, they were working class. Everybody was there at once. So essentially, going back into that space, and refraining from sitting down next to a drug user, or coming there and sitting down next to a drug user and refraining from using. Those were the steps that I needed to overcome. Luckily, the support system that I had within my friends wasn't too far away for me to reach out to, and they were always on hand, if I needed some support. So yeah, the support system was great. So coming into that spaces, refraining from particular things and particular people, cutting off certain habits. That is the steps that obviously is the most challenging. But once you cross that line, it becomes
I mean, something you mentioned is like friendships or actually just support. Could I ask, what would you say have been some of the most, it's probably your place to score brownie points too, who have been some of the most significant figures in terms of support or relationships that have really been important in the recovery in this journey?
Okay, so there's a couple. There's actually a handful that I can mention. But if I must say, like, um, very very sporty, very grounded, logical thinking, very good mate of mine, Ziad X-Teen. He was like, always by my side. Another good friend of mine, Nabila Parker, she was in my corner all the time. And these are the guys that told me straight, look here, this isn't for you, and they gave me the bare truth, and the raw truth, the things that hurt you. But at the end of the day, it made me a better person. It made me a better person. I took it on the chin, and I ate it with a knife and fork. Moving forward further down the line, I must say my wife obviously came in and she changed my life. She changed my life. She turned it upside down. She said, listen, this is our new trajectory and we've been on the up since, so I'm very grateful to her. Her support and her love has just been immense. Even after the substance abuse, with regards to the other recovery steps, getting more spiritual, becoming a better parent, stepping up, taking more responsibility, accountability for my actions and doings. That is where she came in and polished it up, and it's always been on the up since.
Yeah.
So family definitely. Where's the game? always had a part to play. If anything, he got me my first break into the telecoms industry. He's one of him alongside Luqmaan Hassan, Ziad X-Teen again, one of the guys that brought me to the road and said, listen, this is kind of, a better platform for you to showcase your fitness and endurance. So maybe give it a go. And that's how I fell in love with road running, So we were trying it at first just to make sure that we're fit for soccer and that type of thing. But it became a passion afterwards with regards to everybody throwing in their 5 cents and giving me a better idea of what running was like. Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, I obviously know you through running. I wanted to touch on something else, but let's maybe touch on that quickly. What role does running play for you in this journey? And like I said, recovery being an active process.
Well, running changed my life, right? Running gave me a sense of purpose, sense of responsibility now. Now that I've taken it a bit more serious. But running, I think, has been the medium for instant gratification. And with that, we just don't realize it. You finish a 5K and you realize that, man, I finished a 5K in this amount of time. Wow, I can't believe it. And that sense of achievement, instant gratification, whether you finishing the line and getting a medal or crossing the line and getting a medal, whether you PB'd by a couple of minutes of your last time, that instant gratification, I think, made the running the medium for me to say, listen, I want to be on the road because I'm always winning and I'm always gaining from it. It's always a case of merit and reward that comes with it. So running, I think, has given me a sound mind, sound body, and it's given me that platform to say, where I could level up, raise my standards with regards to responsibility. I now pace, so I try and get people off from I try and get them off from the thinking of how fast to run and what direction to run. I do that for them. They just need to enjoy their run. So also giving me some sense of responsibility, and there's so many people that has been a part of that journey again, and I must say heads up and kudos to everybody who's been on board, whether it's been a run club, whether it's been a official running club, there's a lot of them out there that has contributed to the running journey.
Well, so I think of running as like a catalyst or a vessel for change, but it's the people you meet. It's like you said, the responsibility that gets given to you, and the opportunity to really just connect and help so many people. Um, would you say that with not just running but everything else, that like in terms of your life, that there's purpose that you've built that has been different over the years,
No,
or like has
100%. Remember, Brett, after going through the addiction period and phase, I then had kids. So essentially, my life needed to change. I needed to step up. I needed to take accountability and responsibility for my children now as well. So purpose. I think after realizing that I need to grow up and take accountability, automatically kicked in. It automatically gave me a sense of purpose to living. Because I have young ones that I'm raising, and I obviously have a plan for them, and that gives me more purpose in order for them to accomplish and achieve those goals. So if I'm not there one day, I hope they continue with that plan. But it's given me purpose to make sure that I have a plan in place for them. So besides the running, having kids has given me a lot of purpose. And so,
sorry, I was going to say, if I think of running, I think it's probably easier than having 5 kids. It's probably more challenging. But something, and I think this is something that not a lot of people know about me. It's something that's incredibly close to me is faith or spirituality. And I was just wondering for you, because it's something you had mentioned when we had chatted before, was, what role did spirituality or faith play for you in recovery, but also what does it still play? What role does it still play?
Well, in the recovery, if anything, I think one of the biggest things that came out of it was you need to be in a sound space in order to address and in order to communicate with your creator. You need to be mindful of what you're doing. So you can't be in a space that deems you unfit, basically, to be in that spirituality space. So what it's done for me as a person, obviously through recovery, it's helped a lot, because you put all your faith in the man above, and he's given you all this avenues and doors to go through, of which way you see the light at the end of the day, and that's obviously, if not testament to what the creator can do for us, it's proof that if anything, put your faith in the man above, and he shall open doors for you at the end of the day. What it's doing for me now, it's just incredible, man. I try to. I'm not the holiest, but I try to make sure that I'm completing my prayers daily, and it's brought some sense of a relief to life, so all the unnecessary stresses that does come with life. Listen, you're going to have a hiccup here and there with regards to life, but you don't need to really go out of your way, and you don't need to break your back, and you don't need to kill yourself over things that speaking about it, I read something the other day, Brett, that read 93% of the things that we worry about ends up not happening. So I thought to myself, like 93% of the things that I do worry about and that I do stress about, that doesn't ever happen or take place, I might as well take that worries, stress, that 93% and channel it into your spirituality and all that faith stronger, in order to live a better life, So spirituality and faith, I think, is number one, in to grow as a person, and then also with regards to having a family, you want to be a good role model, good mirror of spirituality, so that they can follow.
Yeah, I think the beauty of spirituality is because everybody thinks it's just being religious and doing and praying and going to church or going to mosque, but it's about what you do and how everything connects in life. and like you said, you do your prayers, and that connects with the rest of life, and your actions also, everything comes nicely together. And so does your, what's it, your value system and your actions align. And then also just put in trust in your creator. Like you said, we worry about so much, and sometimes just letting go and saying, let me trust that the way forward is, it's a good one, you know. And that sometimes is difficult. I suppose it speaks to the serenity prayer that, you know, says, let's focus on what we can control and let go of what isn't within our power, basically.
Yes. So essentially, it speaks to that, and that's what we need to do. It's easier said than done, though. Easier said than done. Some people find it difficult and they will continue stressing in the back end, or worrying about whatever. But if you get to the level where you can just put all your trust and faith into the man above and let him take the wheel, it brings you so much calm and ease in life.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I'm just looking at the comments, and I think there's a lot of positive comments. I mean, Ryan just said he would pray the rosary during long runs. And I think it's just about giving one peace when doing something that's really difficult. And I think there's so many other comments. I'm always scared to scroll by because I always press something wrong. So mind me. But I mean, we can definitely have a look at them afterwards. Just in terms of yourself, and I suppose because I think that when one recovers, there's a new identity that comes with it. And I was just wondering for yourself, in terms of growth, how has recovery changed the way you see yourself?
Okay, well, yeah, besides the responsibility that I have, I'll hop on that because essentially that's what I need to do. I need to step up. I need to be a man. But what happened is with regards to identity, I've become a better person. So whatever you feeling and however you feeling and however you portray that to the world is how they will see you, right? So yes, I'm coming out of recovery, becoming a better person, becoming a more active person, more healthier lifestyle person, I think has given me a different identity. I am someone totally different compared to what I was 5 years ago,
Yeah.
5 years ago. And I must say, I applaud the running community for bringing that out in me, because if anything, I was subtle, laid back, chilled, and I was okay with being 85 kgs, but physically, spiritually, and holistically, I've changed. Obviously, the identity changed, and the character is still the same, but the identity obviously has changed. That's great, and for the better, for the positive.
And I suppose when I work with people, one of the most important things is that at least the person recovering, or the person making that change, is that they are able to create that identity, not through what everybody else says, is that they doing it for themselves, and taking the steps to create that. And I think it's always a beautiful journey to see somebody take on, because it's so fulfilling. But having said that, if there was somebody that wanted to make a change, and was really struggling to take those first steps, like they felt really helpless, what would you suggest to them? Is there any advice, or like, yeah, what would you suggest to them?
Reflection is good. What one needs to do is you need to reflect. You need to think about where you are in life, what you want from life, and you need to set a couple of goals. So if you are struggling to come out of that space and you're scared to make the first move, try and reach out to someone who you feel comfortable with. Try and do something that you feel comfortable with. Like, people go into these long phases of addiction, and they get caught up in so many things that they forget what they are good at,
Mhm.
And, um and if you are, man, try and run with that. Try and run with what you are good at, and that will bring you some sense of achievement. You will then realize that I am capable of more than just that, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and it's difficult. It's difficult to take that first step, but that is where it starts. A lot of people will. I'll use the analogy with regards to running. A lot of people will say, "Look, man, I want to start running. Can you take me with you?" But if you can prove to me that you can do 3 5K runs for this week, we're on the right track.
Yeah.
Come to next week, we can then start running, you know? So try and do that. If you really want to help yourself better, if you really want to help yourself get out of that slump that you're in, you know, try and do one thing at a time, even if it's small steps, you know. You don't need to become um, a Luqmaan at the end of the day by tomorrow. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. But what you need to do is you need to make that small effort. And I'm almost sure it's in the Bible, likewise in the Quran. Like whatever you want, and it will again revert and point back to spirituality. But whatever you want in life, you need to put the effort into it. You know, the man above will give you the doors, the avenues, and all the ways forward. But you need to do that work. You need to get across the line, or you need to cross that river, or you need to cross that bridge, and that is on you, right? So as harsh and as cruel as it might sound, you know, it all boils down to how much you want to better yourself and how much you want to then get out of that slump that you're in, you know. And yes, it's a difficult step to move forward, but do the small things first. Get that sense of achievement, and then you try and focus on the bigger things. So small steps at a time, essentially.
Thank you. I think, I read something and I thought a while ago, and I always thought, it always sat with me because I thought it was so interesting, is that we wait for motivation to make the change. And it's actually through small actions and consistency that we start to feel motivated. We don't just all of a sudden get this magical feeling of, I'm going to have the energy and do things all the time. And then that's a difficult pill to swallow. And so I like what you said about just being consistent and so a little bit at a time.
Little bit,
Um, you know,
little bit at a time, and you know what? It's actually more discipline than motivation, because once you lose the motivation thereafter, so you're hyped up, you do what you need to. You've now came out for your 5 3K or your 3 5K runs. You've done it. Next week you've done 3 more. Look, man, I'm ready for the road. Um, but now it's 10K runs. So
yeah,
how disciplined are you in order to do 2 10K runs for the week? So it's that you need to get over. You know, once the motivation is gone, you then solely dependent on discipline, and that is a difficult thing to manage. You know, um, and only with and through consistent small steps you can then try and polish the discipline trophy. But it's very difficult to stay disciplined if the motivation is gone.
correct, yeah. Coming to the final question, um, if there was something you could leave everybody with, a message or just something that that would give people hope, or just anything that you would like to share or say, what would it be?
Listen, I was running the other day and I thought to myself, everybody is hopping on the new year, new me, my New Year's resolution thing. You know what? I thought to myself, why must 2026 be my year? Why can't each day be my day? Why can't I make every hour my hour? Why don't I own it immediately? You know, I don't need to. And yes, there's certain goals that takes time, you know, that needs nurturing, that you need to feed into, that you need to grow slowly but surely. But again, coming back to that small, consistent steps, in order to get to the bigger picture. Own every day. Make sure that you are on top of every day. Make sure that you are putting in the most that you can, right? Get that sense of achievement at the end of the day and go again tomorrow. You know, make this week your week, make this month your month, and essentially overall 2026 will be your year.
Well, thank you. Beautiful message. I think there's no place like now to start, or no time, sorry, like now to start. All place here and now.
Yeah,
So I like that. Um,
I've, I've,
First, I
I've,
just want
I've gone with that this year, Brit. You know, I haven't gone with any New Year resolutions, or I haven't gone with a New Year, New Me resolution, but I've gone with a let me take ownership of today. You know, let me take ownership of this week, of this month, and essentially overall, holistically, 26 will be my year.
yeah. No, thank you. From my side, I just want to say thank you to you for coming forward, for your bravery, for wanting to share this. I think moments like this changes people's lives, and I think there's such a big impact that it has.
I hope
And
so. The
I
essential part is to, apologies to break your word, the essential part is to inspire and motivate, you know. And that's why we do what we do. It's not for us anymore, it's for the community. And
yeah.
if anybody can feed off from this, you know, I'll be glad.
I always say we just need to change one person's life, and I'm sure it will change more. But yeah, thank you from my side. Thank you to everybody that has joined, and I'm sure more people will see this video, or share or speak about it, because I think you've shared some really good insights and just a part of you and being vulnerable. So I'm forever grateful, and I just want to also say, not just for 2026, but to you and your family for everything you guys take on. I wish you all the best.
Appreciate it so much, Chris. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the platform for me to share the story. And if anybody, we hope, does take heed or takes a message out of this, then our job has been done.
Yeah, definitely. Well,
Thank
take care and
you.
thank you.
See you on the road.
I'll see you on the road. Thanks. Bye. There we go.